And good afternoon. Welcome into Market Talk on this Thursday, April 14th. Thank you so much for joining us, making us part of your day. I'm your host, Jesse Allen, and thank you for being here as we head into a long holiday Easter weekend ahead. Find us online, markettalkag.com is our home on the web, markettalkag.com. All of our streaming sources there, our radio affiliates, social media links, the latest news of agriculture, and much more. It is all on our website, markettalkag.com. We saw a fairly quiet, choppy trade today. A few things of note to discuss as we head into this long holiday weekend ahead. And here to help us talk through everything and discuss it, our good friend Bryan Doherty with Total Farm Marketing is with us. Bryan, good afternoon to you, sir. And yeah, fairly okay day, fairly solid week throughout the trade here with a lot of different things swirling around, and we kind of just ended it for the most part, kind of quietly today.
Yeah, we did. The old crop percolated up in the corn, but beans finished mixed. Same thing. May beans up 6, but November beans down 4. May corn up 6 3/4. December corn down a half. Wheat was kind of the weak link today, down anywhere from let's call it 15 to 18 cents. And just taking a quick peek here, I was looking at the weekly change on the July corn contract. I think that was where maybe noting here, new contract high close is really strong, but again, nice solid week up 23 cents on the July old crop corn. On that December contract, if you look at the weekly changes there too, Jesse, you're going to look at another new contract high close this week. With December corn picking up 19 cents to end the week at 7.35 and a quarter. Really solid.
Yeah, very solid. And, we saw a lot of the talk about inflation this week, a lot of that inflationary data hitting the marketplace early in the week. And then now, as we kind of head of the weekend, we're starting to get some talk shifting back to weather, getting some talk, of course, watching Russia Ukraine situation. Some of those same fundamentals are still out there here as we head into the Easter holiday break.
Right. So you saw, another thing you saw today was good export sales in corn. So
Yes.
another week of really, just solid numbers. 52.5 old crop, 15.9 million new crop. Again, you're not going to likely see these big whopper 200 million bushel weeks because end users are buying as needed. And that's what happens when you have high prices. But as far as other things, right, got a WASDE report under our belt this week. We look around the world, things are pretty tight. Fertilizer costs, inflation, energy, Ukraine, you name it. Seems like we've got something every week or many things every week to work with. But corn's in a nice long-term steady uptrend. Beans have been choppy, seemingly finding resistance at $17 old crop and $15 on the new crop. Expectations are still now for 2+ million acres of beans versus corn compared to before the March 31st acreage report. The question is, did corn buy acres back? Some say yes, no problem. Others say nope, there's not enough fertilizer. They can talk about buying acres back, but there's not enough to go around. So interesting week, interesting developments unfolding. Weather will be the primary factor here moving forward for Brazil and the U.S. I don't want to discount Ukraine, but it's not really new news. Weather becomes new news from this point onward.
Now, looking at the wheat crop a little closer here, we saw that pretty hefty pressure there today compared to quartered soybeans. Was there anything that really stood out to you as to why we saw that pressure? Were we taking some profits, taking some premium out ahead of the weekend with everything going on with headlines, of course, coming out
Yeah,
of the Black
you got a
Sea?
three-day weekend there. We'd had a good surge earlier in the week. Still, we'll finish the week on a solid note. But you had an export sales number at 3.5 million bushels old crop, 8.3 new crop. New crop's okay. Old crop was disappointing. And so I think what you saw is some reversal of spreads today. You saw traders selling the wheat, maybe buying corn, maybe buying beans. But it looked to me like early on, it looked like the wheat market quickly was seeing the trade exit the long side after the export sales number.
Hmm.
A lot of growing season ahead, critically dry in the Southwest. We'll keep an eye on the world markets and world crop production, but not an ideal start to the world wheat crop this year.
Now, a little more on the macro side and whatnot. We got all that inflationary data here this week, and I know a lot of talk surrounding that. Did you see anything as we went through the week that stood out to you that we need to really watch out for moving forward after all that data, Brian?
Well, I think the Federal Reserve is going to have to raise interest rates. So if I'm somebody who has a revolving door loan or I'm long-term loan necessity for me, then I'm really looking at having serious conversations with my lenders. It just looks like the bond market is reflecting expectations for higher interest rates. Interest rates are a killer if you're borrowing a lot, and so to lock in lower levels of interest might be advantageous.
How about on the energy market? Crude oil, we dipped below $100 there, and now we're back above it. We're up around that 105 range. What's your thoughts on the energy side?
Well, I think the market's trying to find its way. Um, there's this thought that between strategic reserves being released to kind of get us through winter into the early driving season, I look at that more as a band-aid. Rig counts, they're on the rise, but ever so slowly. So the energy market to me looks, really well supported. I'm not seeing that there's any massive amounts of increased energy expectations out of the world. That's a game changer. What we're seeing is lots of little things that might add to the inventory and eventually cap prices. But right now, it still looks pretty vibrant to me to come right back after going under 100 now today, anywhere from 103 to 10, almost 107. That's pretty impressive.
That is very impressive for sure. Let's talk livestock, Brian. Today, we look at the contracts. Cattle mixed to lower today. Hogs, that front month April contract expiring going off the board today, just down to 99.87. We saw some of the deferreds a little bit higher. What are you seeing in livestock here as we head to the holiday weekend?
Well, we're anticipating that we'll see good disappearance, first of all. Two, we've talked about this. The consumers are willing and wanting to chase services now, on the belief that maybe this inflation is going to last long. So they're going to buy. I think they're going to go out. They're going to buy. Maybe not in the long run, but they're going to buy. But in the long run, if the consumer can hang in there and help us out, I keep looking at both these hogs and pigs deferred months, and they just look like they should be supportive right now. World's pretty tight on inventories, and we're probably going to see strong export activity at least into the fall or winter months, anticipating tighter supply of cattle into the early part of 2023.
And I was gonna say, I think one thing we're watching this week, Northern Plains, that major winter storm up there. What will we see for cattle and calf losses? There's a lot of calving going on in that region right
Yeah.
now. How's that going to affect that cattle market long term?
Long term, it's anybody's guess the loss right now, but there will be loss. You can't throw this kind of oh, back and forth weather and sloppy conditions and mud and dropping calves on the ground and not expect business as usual. Ultimately, that probably adds to next summer price, next fall price. We've seen the deferred contracts start to break into new highs. Saw another new high this week in the April of 23 contract. Same thing in December 23. So as we look out, it's very likely that the market's going to factor in um, positive values in the deferred months, anticipating tighter and tighter supply. High corn prices, poor pasture conditions. I just don't see where there's any real common sense or rational reason to expect the herd to be expanding. There just isn't. There's labor issues, all of these things. Um, I think the world's kind of been spoiled for a long time of kind of always having it there ready at the supermarket.
How about in this dairy trade? Milk up around $25 this
Mm.
week. Just a lot of things going on in this dairy market. I feel like right now that are important to think about. What are you seeing as we head to the Easter weekend?
Well, demand is everything in the to me that demand is everything um, in the milk market, and we're expecting good overseas demand, strong demand. Yet there's something about this $25 mark that it's been holding milk historically. The consumer just doesn't seem to want to pay anymore. That could be changing. The biggest issue I think with the dairy industry isn't dairy; it's labor. and just getting enough help to expand the operation. And the question, if you're a farmer and you have this dairy, do you expand? Do you sell out? Do you go out and hire people? Um, do you deal with $7 corn, or do you just let it be somebody else's problem? There's a lot of unanswered questions in the dairy industry right now that might tip the scales one way or the other. Right now, I'd say they're tipping it as limited downside in the foreseeable future.
Well, Brian, we covered a lot in a short amount of time here today, and I know not a whole lot to discuss on a quiet day today, but couple minutes here. Floor is yours. Any final thoughts for us on this Thursday?
We've talked about this week in and week out. Things are becoming more and more volatile. We've got higher prices, so that puts the onus or pressure on you as a farmer. Do I do something now? Do I wait? Um, Two things. One, I would say if you're not sure, talk to someone who can be, let's say, unbiased and just kind of level-headed. Somebody like myself or some advisor where they're going to probably call it as they see it. Um, but the other thing is to really, again, keep keep that marketing pencil really sharp. Sometimes doing nothing's the best strategy, Jesse. That's been working in the grains as of late, but I can almost assure you, as the sun will come up tomorrow, that's not going to be the best strategy at some point. So keep trickling those sales out. Look at retained ownership with option spreads, bull call spreads, buy call, sell call, fixed risk. Does have fixed profit component, is rather slow mover, but that's probably the best strategy in this highly charged and volatile market right now. So just if you want to talk about this, give us a call. Otherwise, concentrate on strategy. Get ready to do field work, but concentrate on marketing strategy.
Well, Brian, if folks need some of that advice from you guys there at Total Farm Marketing, I know they can check out the website, totalfarmmarketing.com, or as you said, give you a good old fashioned phone call as well, can't they?
They sure can, and that would actually probably be preferred. That way, I can kind of hear what's in your voice and maybe get at it a little bit quicker, see what's important to you. So yeah, call's easy enough. 800-334-9779.
Well, Brian, we appreciate the time as always, sir. Wish you and your family a happy Easter, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, Jesse, thank you, and great luck to you and to all your listeners. Much appreciated.
Bryan Doherty, Senior Market Advisor with Total Farm Marketing, joining us today here on Market Talk. That's going to do it for the show on this Thursday, April 14th. Coming up tomorrow, we'll talk weather with Eric Snodgrass of Nutrien. Find us again, markettalkag.com. I'm Jesse Allen. Have a great afternoon.